you, and I look forward to receiving you. Amen.
For God works all things for the good of them that love him, for the good of them who are called according to his purpose.
Our address, physical services, 106 9th Road, King in Johannesburg. My number is +27 82 456 9264. We shall surely be blessed. May God bless you, and I look forward to receiving you. Amen.
Good evening. How are you tonight, everyone? I welcome all of you all over the world today, and I welcome you to this special program. As I always have the grace to be with you on every Tuesday, and I also want to thank you for tuning in also on Tuesday to hear my talk. And I believe you've had a very good week starting, and I can only wish you all the best for the rest of this month, this brand new month of November. And I wish you all the best in all your endeavors and your goals, that you shall surely achieve your goals. So I welcome you. My name is Abe Adenigba, and I'm here again today from Shekinah Institute, and that is where we teach on leadership and entrepreneurship, leadership lifestyle, employee wellness, and for your total well-being. So today we're going to continue on the series on the failure is not final. It seems not to be stopping, but there's so many things we need to understand about certain circumstances of life. And so today I'm going to talk to us about the ways to transcend the event of failure. I want to encourage you today, and at this time of the season of the year, to see beyond the unpleasant experiences, events, to see beyond your unaccomplished desired goals, the poor outcome of things you have invested money and time. These are tendencies of what is referred as failure. In this segment, I want to suggest the ways to transcend the failures. To transcend is to think beyond the present deplorable state or situation that you may find yourself. It is to move forward, to move beyond the very present disappointment that you may have experienced. So today we're going to look at what are those ways by which you can let the past go so that you can move forward. And that's why I said you can transcend the failure. You can think beyond. You can see into the future. You can actually, go beyond the scope of what has held you back. And that's what I meant, that you can transcend failure and get into better opportunities. So today, I want to talk about these ways. In my earlier talk, I mentioned that you must hone your definition of failure. In other words, to fail isn't final for you, but it is to try again or find direction, because people will look at your situation, they will look at your circumstances and come up with several opinions. Some may say, oh, a marriage failed. Some will conclude that your business closed down, without understanding that it's an experience. It's an experience. It's not a closed chapter of your life when things seems to not go the way you have planned, or some things seems not to meet your expectation. So I'm here to say today there are ways by which you can really transcend some of these negative thoughts and the opinion that does not encourage you. So today, I want to start by saying you need to emotionally disconnect with the event of failure. You need to emotionally disconnect with the event or the experience of failure. To disconnect emotionally with those disappointments in order that you may place yourself on another another level of thoughts and action. That is, forgetting what lies behind and reaching forward to what lies ahead, as Paul says in Philippians 3:13. So failure, as you may know, has its unique storylines for everyone. Some it's financial mistakes, wrong investment, divorce, and educational failure. However, the ways to transcend them, to transcend the failure, can be a common approach to succeed again, to find your feet again, to do well again. And that's what we're going to look at tonight. Number one, you need to transcend failure by maturing through the experience. What am I saying there? That for you to transcend the failure experience, you have to mature through that experience. Accept the loss, for example, accept the loss, accept the human errors and your limitations. And this is another way for you to transcend failure because there is the law of acceptance. There are some realities that you cannot bend. However, you just accept it. Now, but in this, what I'm saying tonight that the transcendence is developing the new set of strategic attitudes or moral values going forward that will best suit your situation, that will best suit your next move. You need to come up with those new set of strategic attitudes when you have matured through that experience of failure. You have accepted the human error part of it, and you also have accepted your limitation. And what you need to do next is for you to develop new strategic attitudes, moral values that will help you going forward. And this is how you can really transcend failure. This is how you can leave certain thoughts behind. And that's what we're saying today. And some of these strategic attitudes is what you conclude that will suit the next move you want to make, the next attempt, or even repeat of what failed. You need to develop a new set of strategic attitudes. I read a bestseller book recently authored by Berthold Gunster. It's titled Flip Thinking. And I've not left that book. It's so interesting for me and it resonates with what I'm teaching. Now, Gunster, in his book, Flip Thinking, which is the art of turning problems into opportunities, what I grabbed from it was every problem or failure requires an attitude to approach it. Every problem or failure requires an attitude to approach it. According to Gunster, and I quote, when you are faced with a situation that you want to flip think, always start by asking yourself what attitude is required. Let me repeat that. When you are faced with a situation that you want to flip think, always start by asking yourself what attitude is required. Does it call for love and attention? Or should you gear up for a fight? Will it require hard work? Or perhaps a playful approach will be most effective? End of quote. What is he saying here? That when we're trying to address a problem, such as, when we have experienced failure and we have identified certain limitations, we need to come up with strategic attitudes. Those attitudes includes, how do you approach it? People have let you down. People have disappointed you. A business partner has mismanaged the finance. What will be your next attitude to it? So he's saying to you, such situation, you need to flip think. And that's what flip thinking is. You need to flip think by asking yourself, what is the best way to approach this? So he said, is it going to call for love? Is it going to call for attention? Or you are ready to fight it out? Would it require hard work? Maybe your first attempt of what failed needs more hard work, needs more attention. So you need to come up with this. That is what Berthold Gunster was saying there. So your choice in a given situation is within you by intuition or logical approach. These thoughts are the matured process. These thoughts are the matured process to transcend that failure in your life of any situation. That is to embrace a positive attitudes towards life challenges and surmount it. For example, you can decide to love the one who stole from you. That might be the attitude you want to put to it. You may decide to love the one who stole from you. You may decide, to love the man who walked out of your life and your child. It might be the attitude you want to approach it, the situation, the disappointment. Now, because it is this strategy, through the strategy of love, that you can attract opportunities. That is the vibration that you need to move forward, to transcend a very bad experience. That is what I meant, that you can transcend failure. And this strategy is saying you must adopt a strategic attitude in order for you to transcend, to move beyond them, in order for you to think ahead of them. And that is what I'm trying to show you here. So we have to know that in every situation, in every kind of failure, for you to bounce back, you must actually have to decide the way you are going to approach it. And you have to flip think, which I learned from this book. You have to flip think it. To flip think is for you to think out of the box and to think in reverse and look at possibilities. And so that's why you can definitely move ahead, exceed the bad experience. That's what I meant, that you can transcend failure. Number two, the ways to transcend the event of failure. Sometimes, failure oftentimes exposes our limitation. You can transcend this failure by developing inspiration for other sources. Inspiration in terms of depth knowledge of what you've done that failed. You search for new concept. You become self-inspired and to reinvent yourself. And this is how you can transcend the failure. This is how you can transcend the past and moving into the future. So, in other words, engaging a self-motivation will help you to express your authentic self. It will help you to express your authentic self. That it being self aware is a way to overcome some of the obstacles of limitations. This is a way for you to transcend what you have done that did not work out. Even though you are going to go back to it, you need to be self aware. You will discover your core strength. And this is how you can thrive. That when you make the next attempt, you will surely break through. And that's how you can transcend the failure. That's how you can exceed the bad experiences. You know that some people failed not that not because that they are insufficient. People, not everyone who failed. It's not that they are insufficient. They are intelligent, but it can be suggested that they likely lack the originality of what they ventured into. In other, what I'm saying is this, that not everyone who failed is insufficient, incapable, but the venture that failed may not be their core. They are not the original of what failed. And that's why you find that a whole lot of these situations, and you find out that people who somehow failed in certain venture, they do not have the depth of it. There are limitations that got exposed. So, as you become self aware, you are able to operate on your strength. You are able to have a social skill that will help you to thrive. But more importantly, is for you to be yourself. It's for you to be the original. And that's how you can transcend failure. And combination with your strength, you find out that you will surely thrive on your next attempt. So, to exceed the level of failure, you need to embrace a self awareness. You need to be self motivated. And this is how you can express yourself. The real you can be expressed. You know, even it happens in companies, and I've spoken about Apple in the past, that when Apple computers struggled to maintain their market position in the personal computers consumer market, they had to welcome back Steve Jobs, the founder. They welcome him back as the CEO. Why? Because he was the visionary. He was the original inventor, the mover, the shaker of that industry, of the founder of that very company. And they had to call him back. And when he came back into the company rised. And you see they came out with so many other materials like iPad came and all that in 2001 or so. So we're saying today that for you to transcend failure, you need to learn to be yourself, so that whatever you lay your hands to do, you do it with all intensity. You do it with all intensity, because originality is the ability to think and act independently. So you discover yourself and stand as you have been called, and you will surely exceed the failure and break new grounds. So to transcend failure, you just need to rediscover yourself in order to reinvent yourself. And when you reinvent yourself, you are coming with all originality of yourself. You are able to express yourself. You are able to venture into what is within your capacity and the knowledge. This is another way that you can transcend. Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison, he says that if we all did the things we are really capable of doing, we would literally astound ourselves. That's the word of Thomas Edison, one of the greatest inventors in the 20th century. He said, if we all did the things we are really capable of doing, we would literally outstand ourselves. In other words, when we do things within our capacity, what we're capable of doing, we actually we surprise ourselves. And it needs a concentration. And this is how you can transcend failure. If you model yourself If you model yourself after who you are not, you are bound to fail. You are bound to fail. It's like somebody taking on a project or a program. You do not have enough knowledge or the implication or financial implication or the technical. It definitely it can fail. So for you to transcend this level, you need to find new sources. You need to have the depth of knowledge of what you want to do, and then you need to develop inspiration for other sources, inspiration for depth of knowledge, new concept. You self-inspired, and then you reinvent yourself. This is how you can overcome. I'm not using the word overcome, but to transcend failure, because sometimes failure can be emotional. And when you are emotional, your eyes may be closed to what is next as opportunity. So I'm saying you need to transcend it. You need to move forward. You need to exceed. You need to exceed that level, that experience. So we can see the word of Thomas Edison that says that if we all can do things within our capability, we will surprise ourselves by the amount of success that you know, we can we can achieve. Of course, you know about Thomas Edison. Nevertheless, what has happened, which is not in your favor, may still work out for your good. As you reinvent yourself with knowledge, with more concept, ideas, you will surely transcend where you have failed. And that is what I'm trying to pass on to you today. And in this series that we say ways to transcend failure, just like me as a teacher or preacher, I wouldn't speak on a subject matter which I don't have the insight. So the limitation that is exposed through failure is often the limited knowledge and the lack of adequate research on what we ventured in about what actually failed. So today, I'm saying you need to embrace a new concept. You need to transcend the experience that you have heard. You need to experience the experience, you need to exceed it. And exceeding it means that you are coming with so much of, good new ideas that surely that failure may not repeat itself. So, in conclusion and in summary of the 2 points that I've given you today on the ways for you to transcend failure, I mentioned that you have to emotionally disconnect with the event of failure. Place yourself on another pedestal of thoughts and action, forgetting what lies behind and reaching forward to what lies ahead. And this is how you can transcend failure. And I began to give you some points to transcend the ways to transcend failure. That you transcend failure when you have matured through that experience of failure. You demonstrate the maturity in that experience, And how do you do that? You learn to accept your losses. You learn to identify and recognize the human error in the failure. And more importantly, you are able to discover your own limitation in that experience. So, and thereafter, I mentioned that you develop new sets of strategic attitudes or moral values going forward, taking those attitudes that will best suit the next level, the next attempt that you want to make. And that is what I also mentioned. And I referred you to a wonderful book that I read about flip thinking. And that is for you to have a different view, you know, in opposite of what failed. And I mentioned that you need to develop this attitude by asking yourself a question when you are faced with this situation. What attitude is required? Do you have to apply love, attention, or should you fight about what failed? Would what failed require hard work again? Maybe hard work is a next strategy you need to apply to what failed. That's how you can transcend this failure that I'm talking about. It may be hard work. You need to ask yourself those questions. Perhaps a playful approach will be most effective. Sometimes you deregularize your approach, maybe with your team, and you find out that no, people work more optimally. Maybe it's a decision you have to make about the attitude. So your choice in a given situation is within your intuition and your logical approach. These are the thoughts of a matured experience in failure. So, number two that I mentioned is that you can transcend failure by identifying those limitations that were exposed in that experience. Therefore, you need to get inspired. You need to seek new inspiration. You need to be self-inspired to reinvent yourself. So through self-motivation, you can exceed the level of your failure and you move towards a new level where you can succeed. And then you find your authentic self when you have, understood who you are. Definitely you will know the kind of venture that suits you. You will know the kind of business that you can handle. You will understand your emotional quotient. You will understand all kinds of things when you have a self-awareness, and that will help you to transcend the failure. So these are the points that I've mentioned today, and you will really see that as you know, adapt some of these strategies, you will do well in your next attempt. You now have a clarity of yourself, and then you will know what you should not do and those who you should not deal with. Again, I mentioned that you will, you haven't gone through failure. For you to transcend it, you will learn to vet the people that come to you. You will learn to vet them. You will learn to do your due diligence so that failure does not occur the second time. This is how you can transcend what has failed and you move to the next higher level whereby you will surely succeed in what you do. Or as you repeat, because I'm going to share more things with you next week, why and how you can transcend a failure experience. So this is as much I would want to talk to you tonight, and I look forward to see you next week. And thank you for being with me tonight. I wish to see your own comments and subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. May God bless you, and I thank you for listening. This has been Abe Adeniba, Director of Shekinah Institute for Leadership and Entrepreneurs. God bless you.